systems of the three ASEAN countries, which are Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, and how each reflects their national priorities, cultural values, and development goals. I am Jaren A. Jimenez, your presenter. Here are the following goals or purposes of my report. First is you are to understand the structure, curriculum, and assessments of the three ASEAN education systems. Second, you are to identify strengths and challenges. And last, you are to draw implications for the Philippine context. Okay, so why study ASEAN education? ASEAN promotes educational cooperation and mobility. ASEAN countries also share similar goals, which are quality, equity, global competitiveness. And also, ASEAN education helps benchmark best practices in the Philippines. Here's the overview of the first ASEAN country we're going to talk about. Singapore. Singapore is one of the world's top performing education systems. It is highly structured and competitive, and Singapore has a strong government investment. Singapore is widely recognized as one of the world's top performing education systems. For many years, the country has consistently ranked at or near the top of major international assessments such as PISA or Program for International Student Assessment, particularly in mathematics, science, and reading. These results reflect not only high student achievement but also the effectiveness of their curriculum, teacher education, and system management. For those are dili familiar sa PISA, so PISA it is a international assessment wherein mga bata kay mo take sila examination. So actually PISA style of assessment is being introduced to me last year. So in DepEd Region 7, we have this what you call project share, wherein teachers are to make an I-plan. So familiar mo sa I-plan? I-plan is a type of lesson plan. It is a complicated, more complex that follow sa man siya, a very strict guidelines, no? So pag craft na mo sa I-plan last year, nakabutang dito sa guideline that the assessment should be in PISA style. So actually kaning PISA is requirements sa din nato when we're labi na ko itong nag-eskwela pa ta ba. So, ang PISA style of assessing is situational. So, ang format niya is real-world scenarios. So, it is open constructed responses where students explain their reasoning. So, I'm going to differentiate PISA ha para mas masabtan siya. As a teacher, siguro teacher factor sa nganong ang Philippines kung inyong makita sa screen na siya sa ika-6 man siguro na sa ASEAN countries sa PISA 2022 overall score ika-6 ta. Kay say maka-feel sad mi og guilt labi nag kanang for example bitaw sa math ang bata tagaan na nimo og um numbers, for example 12 times 9. So those learners nga nakasabo sa multiplication table nya makabalo sila sa technique ba nga ang multiplication is a repeated addition, maka-answer sila ato if tagana nimo ana nga mga numero lang. But if you're going to make that question or activity a PISA style of assessing or assessment, you're going to say, for example, Mary bought 12 pieces of pencils and each pencil cost 9 pesos each. What is the total cost of the pencils that Mary has bought? So that is an example of a PISA style of assessment. Ang bata nga kamao, katong mga top performing, makasabot, makabasa sila, makasabot, makakomprehend, makabaw sila sa operation nga gamiton, maka-answer. Ang bata nga katong mga average lang, makabasa but not dili maka-comprehend, so dili sila ka-answer. Samot natong mga low performing learners. So mo na siya nga gamay kay tag score sa PISA because kanang naanad man gud ang mga bata nga dito numero nya kanang sa PISA assessment situational jud siya permi real world ang mga scenario dito. So kung kabantay mo ang Singapore top 1 siya sa kuara di siya sa ASEAN countries. Then diri sa PICAS also Singapore is ranked at the top. So basin mahibong sad mo nganong ang akong gipakita diri is PISA 2022 overall score because ang PISA assessment is i-conduct siya after every 3 years. So ang latest nga assessment sa PISA was in 2025 and then ang result niya is i-release nila 2026 and so far wala pa sila i-release. So this one is PISA 2022 overall score. Madungog pa ko?
Yes po. Yes po.
Padayon ko. So one key characteristic of the Singapore education system is that it is highly structured and competitive. From the primary level onwards, students follow clearly defined pathways designed to match their strengths and learning pace. This includes milestone examinations such as the PSLE. So later on, I'm going to talk about unsa ning PSLE, which determines students' progression to secondary tracks. Although this structure has been criticized for creating pressure, it has also enabled Singapore to tailor learning pathways efficiently and respond quickly to student needs. Another foundational element behind Singapore's success is a strong and sustained government investment in education. The Ministry of Education prioritizes long-term planning, consistent policy implementation, and continuous reforms. Teachers, for example, are recruited from the top third of the cohort and provided with high-quality training through the National Institute of Education. The government also invests heavily in school infrastructure, digital learning initiatives, and professional development. Because of this solid investment, Singapore continues to maintain a competitive and forward-looking system. In summary, Singapore's education system stands out globally because it combines structured pathways, strong government support, and a culture that values academic excellence. These elements together contribute to its reputation as one of the most successful education models in the world. The education system in Singapore could be generally classified into few stages. First, preschool, sunod, primary, secondary, post-secondary, higher education, and the last one is university. So below is a brief overview of the various pathways students may take in their education journey in Singapore. Let's first talk about preschool. Preschool in Singapore is for children under the age of 7 years old. Kindergartens provide up to 3 years of preschool, which consists of nursery, kindergarten 1, which is K1, and kindergarten 2 or K2. So take note of the age of preschool learners in Singapore under the age of 7 years old. So kung edad sa bata, 6 years old pa, adto pa siya i-enroll sa preschool. Where sa Philippines, 6 years old is already in grade 1 or 2. No, correct me if I'm wrong because ang grade 1 karon mo dawat mi og 5 years old as long as mo 6 years old siya before mo end ang December. So December ang cut-off karon. Nya sa Singapore, ang 6 years old below is ibutang siya sa preschool, nursery, K1 and K2. And take note also that preschool in Singapore is not compulsory. So dili para sa dili sa tuwa that kindergarten is part of the K-12 curriculum. Sa ilaha dili compulsory. But however, parents are sending their children to preschool to build a foundation before going to primary school. No? So dili siya compulsory pero it depends upon the parents. If ganahan nila ma-ready ilang bata before mo adto sa primary, so ila i-enroll sa preschool first. So primary education is compulsory na under the Compulsory Education Act since 2003. Usually students start their primary education at the age of 7 years up to 12 years old. So 7 years old, dawato na siya sa primary. Primary education consists of 4 years of foundation stage. So ako ipakita ganina no. Wait sa dara. No, isa na ni. Dara. Primary is 6 years, pero ang foundation stage ani is only 4 years. So kanang foundation stage na 4 years, that is primary 1 to 4. Primary 1 to 4 sa ato grades 1 to 4. So and another 2 years of orientation stage, that is primary 5 and 6. English is taught as a first language in primary school. So sa primary school, ang ilahang L1, L1 is the code for first language kay English. No? So students would also be required to take a mother tongue language such as Chinese, Malay, or Tamil. But their L1 should be English. Unlike sa Philippines, our L1 is depende kung asa tanga region. Sa Cebu, our L1 here is Sinugbuan ng Binisaya. So usa pod siguro na siya sa rason why we're ranked at the bottom during the PISA assessment, because ang atong L1, ang first language na to diri is magdepende kung asa tanga region na belong. Kay in Singapore, their first language should be English. Pero nasa lilaan nga subject na pwede sila mo take sa Chinese, Malay, or Tamil. Pero their first language is English. In primary 1 and 2, students would be taught 3 subjects only. So sa primary 1 ug 2, ang ilang subject na i-take sa mga bata is tulo ra ka buok: English, mathematics, and mother tongue language. Nya, if we are going to compare that one to here in the Philippines, ang grades 1 and 2 na to diri, as of now, the revised K to 12 curriculum, we have the 5 subjects. 5 subjects na lang na. Pero when I first entered DepEd, it was year 2019, 8 na siya ka subjects. Imagine grade 1, 8 ka subjects. Mabot ang bata 7:30 sa morning, mauli 4:30. Nga i-insert pag yun na nimo ang pagpabasa. Kay dili man ka pwede mo proceed ana nga subject ana imo na irot ang kompetensi ang bata di ka ba mo basa. So grabe to siya kahanga kay 8 ka subject natoy MAPE, na MTB, Filipino, English, ESP pa. Nya karon sa revised K to 12 we only have 5 na sa grades 1 and 2. Pero sa ilaha primary 1 and 2 they have 3 subjects only: English, mother tongue, and mathematics. From primary 3, igsugod na sa primary 3, science is also included in their curriculum. So igabot sa primary 3, maupat na ilang subject. And after completing the 6 years of education sa primary, students must sit for the primary school leaving education or katong PSLE, which I mentioned earlier. So kaning PSLE, this is an examination after sa primary 6. Mga bata mo take ani nga examination para asaman, para mahibaw-an kung unsa nga track ilang kuhaon sa junior high school. So mo na siya. And then it includes the 4 subjects, katong 4 ka subjects na ilang gitake sa primary school, which are the English, mathematics, mother tongue, and science. Also, Singapore has this GEP, or the Gifted Education Program. The GEP was designed to cater to more academically gifted students. So students are identified for the program through a 2-stage exercise in primary 3. The program is designed to cater to the top 1% of the students from each academic year. So GEP, more likely in the Philippines, SPED, no, special education program for those learners with special needs. So sa ilaha, Gifted Education Program ang pangalan. So after the PSLE or katong examination nga ilahang i-take after sa primary 6, students would continue to secondary school and they are placed to 3 streams. So tulo ka stream. First one is, saan naman to is express. And then we have here the normal academic. And then the third one is normal technical, based on their PSLE result. So kung unsay ilang result, asa sila mabagay, ari ba sila sa express, ari ba sila sa normal academic or normal technical, From 2024, secondary schools would implement a subject-based banding scheme to place students into G1, G2, and G3. G1 is express, G2 is normal academic, and G3 is normal technical. So other than PSLE results, students may also apply to a secondary through direct school admission for secondary school or the DSA SEC. This scheme allows students to seek admission to certain secondary schools based on their talents and achievement in certain areas. For example, ang ilahang result sa PSLE is ari sila mabilong sa normal academic nga dili sila ganahan mo take ana nga strand in sa junior high school. So if na sila choice, gifted baron or varsity player, sports, ingon ana, so pwede sila mo diretsyo sa kanang gitawag og direct school admission for secondary school or the DSA SEC. The level of difficulty of the subjects taken by the students differs based on the streams they are placed in. Express Track is a 4-year program leading to the Singapore Cambridge GCE O-level examination. Normal academic track is a 4-year or 5-year program where students take the normal academic level examination in their 4th year. Students may proceed to take the O-level examination in their 5th year. And normal technical track is a 4-year program leading up to the normal technical level exam in their 4th year. Usually, students will continue their education to ITE after their NT level exam. At the end of the secondary 2, students would have to choose their subject combination to upper secondary. This secondary 2 streaming exercise occurs after students receive their year-end result and would determine which students would be taking in their O-level and N-level examinations. They have also this what you call integrated program or IP. Integrated program is a 6-year program leading to the Singapore Cambridge GCE A-level examination, International Baccalaureate Diploma or in-US High School Diploma. This program allows students to not take their O-level examination. Thus, students would have more flexibility in the combination subjects they take during their year 1 to year 4 as compared to those taking the traditional secondary pathway. Co-curricular activity. So in Singapore, co-curricular activities are highly encouraged at the primary and post-secondary levels, but it is compulsory for secondary students to take CCA. So sa primary, i-encourage lang ang mga bata to take CCAs or co-curricular activities. But in secondary, students are CCAs are compulsory for the learners to take. Participation in CCAs or co-curricular activities would be graded and students may get bonus points for admission into junior college. So, ang K-12 nga curriculum nato karon sa Pilipinas is wala man nag-require of co-curricular activities na i-appeal sa grado. Dili parehas sa una when I was a student, 4th year high school student, nga appeal siya. So, if dagko ka grado sa academic nya wala kay extracurricular activities, so naay possibility nga mo us-us juga sa rank, just like what happened to me. But karon sa K-12 dili na siya graded, pero i-acknowledge siya po na mo ang kanang nato ang kanang mga bata nga nang sa nitawag ani na ay extracurricular activities, pero dili siya appeal sa ilahang grado, dili pareha sa una. And then we have here the post-secondary or the pre-university education. So ighuman nila og 4 or 5-year education in secondary schools, students would sit for the N-level or O-level examination. Their exam results would determine which path they would be able to take further in their education journey. Okay, ari na ta sa junior colleges in Singapore. It typically offers a 2-year program leading up to the GCE A-level examination or the International Baccalaureate Diploma. Students will be able to choose either arts or science stream based on their subject combination. Subjects in A-level are offered in different levels of difficulty, H1, H2, and H3. Students may take a certain number of H1 subjects and H2 subjects, while H3 subjects are offered to students that are academically capable to cope with the additional subject on the top of their H1 and H2 requirements. So, ang compulsory nga subjects nga i-take sa junior college is H1 and H2. But for those learners, for those top performing learners, they can also take H3 subjects. So H3 subjects are advanced subjects, no? Para ma-ready na sila sa university education. Okay, other than the 2-year program offered by junior colleges, students may also opt to the centralized institution, which offer a 3-year program leading up to the A-level examination. Currently, there is only one centralized institution in Singapore, and that is the Millennia Institute. Okay, Singapore also has this what they call polytechnics. As an alternative to junior college, students may also opt to the polytechnics after their O-level examination or ITE result. Polytechnics offer a 3-year diploma course. So pwede silang dili mo enroll sa junior college pero ari sila mo enroll sa polytechnic. Currently, there are 5 polytechnics in Singapore. The first one is Singapore Polytechnic, Ngee Ann Polytechnic, Nanyang Polytechnic, Temasek Polytechnic, and Republic Polytechnic. The modules offered in polytechnics are meant to equip students with more practical skills to improve them for their workforce. After completing their diploma, students may also choose to continue to university, where they may be exempted from taking courses that are similar to what they already took in polytechnic. So, naa sila'y choice after nila sa polytechnic, naa sila'y choice if magpadayon ba sila sa university. But, kung nasa sila'y subject sa university nga humana nila og take sa polytechnic, dili na to nila ko haon. And then, the Institute of Technical Education, or what we call the ITE. The ITE offers vocational educations to students based on their O-level or N-level results. Currently, there are 3 ITE colleges in Singapore. They offer the National ITE Certificate or the NITEC, Higher NITEC, Technical Diploma, and Work Study Diploma. After ITE, some students may be eligible to continue to polytechnic and eventually university based on the results. Singapore education offers multiple pathways for students to learn. Every child is unique and deserves to learn the way that works best for them. Okay, on the other hand, there are education challenges that students in Singapore faced over time. Because of the country's high academic pressure, there is an equity pressure, especially for those low-income learners, which we can really relate into. Labi na if naay dagong projects and then wala kay kwarta because you belong to low-income family. So, mao na siya naapod challenges sa ilaha ang education. Because if nabilong ka sa low-income family, you can feel na life is not fair basin if dili ka makasabay. So much for that. I have here a quote from Lee Kuan Yew, the founding Prime Minister of Singapore. He said, "The wealth of a nation depends on the capacity of its people." So Lee Kuan Yew frequently emphasized education and human capital as the foundation of Singapore's success. And this quote is commonly referenced to explain why Singapore invested heavily in strong, merit-based education system. Are you still with me?
Yes, miss.
Continue ko. At this juncture, let us warmly welcome ourselves to a Southeast Asian country celebrated for its cultural harmony, progressive education system, and dedication to lifelong learning. Welcome to Malaysia. Malaysia's education system has a long history, beginning with early Malay and Islamic schools during and after the British colonial period. English medium schools were introduced, reshaping the system through rapid westernization alongside the development of Chinese medium schools. Today, the Malaysian education system is administered by two ministries, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Higher Education. Each state also has its own education department responsible for implementation and supervision. The current system operates under the Education Act of 1996. Students may study in public schools, which are tuition free for Malaysian citizens, private schools, or through home-based education. Primary education is compulsory. Unlike many other Asian countries, students may take standardized national examinations at K stages. The Education Act of 1996 marked a major milestone building on earlier legislation from 1956 and 1961 and creating a more modern, comprehensive framework for Malaysian education. Beyond the school system, Malaysia currently has 37 private universities, 20 private university colleges, 7 international universities, and more than 400 private colleges nationwide. Okay, nursery. Here is the education structure of Malaysia. So nursery ages 3 to 4. Nursery provides early childhood care and foundational preschool exposure. Children engage in play-based learning that develops social skills, emotional readiness, and communication. It serves as the child's first formal learning environment. Kindergarten ages 4 to 6. So as you can see, if you're going to compare Malaysia and Singapore, same-same sila og bracket sa edad sa ilahang preschool. Kindergarten prepares children for primary education. Instruction focuses on early literacy, numeracy, moral values, and language development. So typically, Bahasa Malaysia and English ilahang language nga need i-develop. Activities remain interactive and play-centered but with more structure and readiness skill. Kabalo man gyud ano sa kindergarten kanang idara ang ilahang learning gyud sa mga bata na is through playing. But in Malaysia, they make their curriculum sa kindergarten more structure and readiness skills. So, in primary and secondary education, Malaysia's school system includes primary schools. So, primary schools ages 7 to 12. Lower secondary schools and upper secondary schools. Students may attend public schools, which is the medium of instruction is Malay, Chinese, or Tamil. Private schools or international schools offering Canadian, British, or American curricula. So, ang public schools nila, ang medium of instruction is Malay, Chinese, or Tamil. In international schools, some international schools are offering Canadian, British, or American curricula. Primary school begins at the age of 7 and lasts 6 years, same sa Singapore. Students study in Malay, Chinese, Tamil, or English depending on the school. But both Malay and English are compulsory subjects nationwide. So, kanang tuod, pwede ang bata mo study in a form, ang language kay Malay, English, Tamil, or English, depende sa school kung asa siya nabilong. So, mura siya localization style. But, both Malay and English are compulsory subjects nationwide. So, tanan mo take sa Malay or English. Public schools charge no tuition fees, while private and international schools do. At the end of primary school, students sit national assessment. Pareha sa to, daghan kay tag-assessment. So I'm going to share, no? Last week we have our ERAT. Kinsay makarelate dira sa ERAT ang assessment. Grabe ang struggle sa ERAT. So daghan kay tag-assessment. So parehas pod sa ilaha. Lower and upper secondary school cover forms 1 to 5. 5 years in total. Instruction in public school is primary in Malay, with English as a compulsory subject. At the end of the Form 5, students take the Malaysian Certificate of Education, modeled after the UK's O-level or the GCSE examinations. For the post-secondary, that is Form 6, for post-secondary is optional. Students who continue may take the Sijil Tinggi Persukolahan Malaysia or the STPM, the equivalent of the British A levels. Alternatively, students may enroll in matriculation or pre-university programs lasting 2 years at public or private institutions. For the college education, Malaysia's vocational and technical colleges offer programs up to the advanced diploma level. These institutions focus heavily on practical skills and industry aligned training. A list of vocational colleges in Malaysia can be found in the College of Education. So for university education, higher education in Malaysia is largely subsidized by the government, especially in public universities. To enter a public university, students typically complete Form 6 and obtain the STPM qualification at the tertiary level. Students may pursue bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees. Higher education programs follow the Malaysian qualifications framework, which standardizes qualifications across colleges and universities. Students may choose to study at public universities, private universities, private university colleges, or international branch campuses located in Malaysia. So I have here a quote from Dr. Mazli Malik, the Malaysian Minister of Education. Kindness is a part of human nature. This is what we have forgotten in our education system. We emphasize a lot on exams and test results that we forgot the very basic human element in every single individual, and that is kindness. Dr. Mazli Malik emphasizes that the Malaysian education system has become too focused on examinations and academic results, causing it to lose sight of core human values such as kindness and empathy. His statement highlights the need for a more holistic, value driven, and human centered approach to education, one that nurtures not only academic achievement but also emotional and moral development among learners. It is my honor to welcome all of you to this meaningful gathering as we explore and appreciate the rich educational landscape of the Kingdom of Thailand, one of the Southeast Asia's most culturally vibrant and academically dynamic nations. Thailand continues to strengthen its education system through reforms that expand access to basic education, invest in teacher development, and integrate digital technologies to promote 21st century skills. With a holistic approach that balances modern competencies with character formation, global citizenship, and cultural preservation, Thailand remains committed to inclusivity by ensuring education is accessible to all learners. Through its ongoing efforts to bridge learning gaps, enrich curricula, and create opportunities for every child, Thailand demonstrates its dedication to building an equitable and empowered society. The Thai education system comprises four levels, namely preschool, preschool education, primary education, secondary education, and higher education. So the details of the four levels of education in Thailand is summarized as follows. Pre-education structure. Preschool education structure rather is provided for 3 to 5-year-old children. It aims to encourage the harmonious physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development of the children prior to formal education. The preschool education can be provided in many ways, such as child care centers, nursery schools, and kindergartens. The Ministry of Education has established a kindergarten in every provincial capital to serve as a model for the private ones. Since this level of education is optional, Therefore, the private sector has played an active role. Most preschools are private in metropolitan Bangkok. These schools are under the supervision of the Office of the Private Education Commission, the Ministry of Education. So as what you've heard, preschools in Thailand also is not compulsory. No, dili siya pinagsanay sa ilaha didto ang preschool pod. Same with Singapore and Malaysia. Primary education emphasizes literacy, numeracy, communication skills, and abilities to relevant to future occupational roles. At this level, education is compulsory and free of charge, provided for children age 6 to 11, including the disadvantaged ones. So, ang bracket age sa Thailand ug sa Pilipinas kay murag same no. Kaso lang sa ato ang cut-off nato is layo kaayo, December ang cut-off niya. Mo enroll ang bata 5 years old pa sa grade 1 niya, as long as mo 6 siya before ma-end ang December dawato na siya. I don't know sa cut-off sa Thailand, basta sa Pilipinas mauna siya sa pagkakaroon. Okay. At this level, primary school curriculum is integrated curriculum comprising 5 areas of learning experiences, namely basic skills development, life experience, character development, work-oriented education, and special experiences. The last area is provided for children in Pratham 5 and 6, which are the last 2 grades at the primary level. 8 core subjects from the national curriculum. Flexibility is built into the curriculum to integrate local wisdom and culture as long as it is consistent with the learning standards in each of the subject groups. These include Thai language, mathematics, science, social studies, religion and culture, health and physical education, art, career and technology, and foreign languages. So daghan sila og subject nga gi-offer sa primary education. So primary education is under several government agencies. Most of the government primary schools are under the Office of the Basic Education Commission, Ministry of Education. There are also demonstration schools attached to some universities. Secondary education is divided into 2 levels, each covering a period of 3 years. The lower level emphasizes on learners' intellect, ethics, morality, and basic skills. It allows the learner to explore his individual interests and aptitudes through a wide choice of both academic and vocational subjects. That is the first level, tulo ka tuig. The upper level aims to provide appropriate academic and vocational knowledge and skills correspondent with the learner's interests and aptitudes. This knowledge and skills will be beneficial for learners to continue study at higher level or to enter the world of work. Secondary curriculum covers 8 broad subjects. First is the Thai language, mathematics, science, social studies, religion and culture, health and physical education, art, career and technology, and foreign languages. So 8 ang broad subjects sa secondary curriculum. There is also a wide range of exploratory pre-vocational subjects available. The use of the credit system at this level facilitates flexibility in the teaching learning process. Both public and private sectors are involved in the organization of secondary education. Public schools are mostly under the Office of Basic Education Commission, the Ministry of Education. In the higher education, it aims at the full development of human intellectuality and the advancement of knowledge and technology. This level may be organized in forms of colleges, universities, or institutions for specialized studies. So the diagram below, the diagram that you have seen in the screen shows how Thailand's education system is structured from early childhood to higher education. It begins with preschool education, ages 3 to 5, followed by elementary education, ages 6 to 11, that is grades 1 to 6. Students then move to lower secondary education, ages 12 to 14, grades 7 to 9, which is part of compulsory schooling. After this, learners may continue to upper secondary education, ages 15 to 17, grades 10 to 12, where they can choose between general education or vocational education pathways. Beyond secondary school, students may enter higher education, which includes bachelor's degree programs, graduate studies, and various vocational and short course training options. Special education services are available across all levels. Overall, the system provides multiple pathways and flexible opportunities for learners to pursue academic or skills-based careers. The PISA 2022 results show a clear performance gap among Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. So as you can see, Singapore ranks far above all Southeast Asian countries, scoring the highest in reading, mathematics, and science, reflecting its strong and highly competitive education system. Malaysia, on the other hand, performs at a moderate level with scores of 388 in reading, 409 in mathematics, and 416 in science, indicating steady progress but still behind top performing countries. Meanwhile, Thailand scores 379 in reading, 394 in mathematics, and 409 in science, placed it slightly below Malaysia, showing that while the country continues to improve, challenges remain in literacy and numeracy outcomes. Overall, the results highlight Singapore's global excellence, Malaysia's developing performance, and Thailand's ongoing efforts to strengthen its education quality. Monpraya B3 Lobnong Bua statement. In Thailand, education can feel like a lucky draw. Highlights how beautiful quality in Thailand is uneven, depending largely on location, family background, and access to resources. Many Thai students receive good education only if they are born in urban areas or have supportive families, while those from rural or disadvantaged communities often face limited opportunities. This point reflects persistent educational inequality in Thailand, particularly noted by the UNICEF, which describes inequality as a long-standing challenge and emphasizes that students from less advantaged areas often struggle to access quality education. This situation closely mirrors the Philippine education landscape. Like Thailand, the Philippines shows significant gaps between urban and rural schools, private and public institutions, and wealthy and poor families. Students in well-funded urban schools often have better facilities, trained teachers, and access to learning materials, while learners in far-flung communities may face teacher shortages, which is very, very true. Outdated materials, multi-grade classrooms, daghan jud kaayo pa ni nga sa usa ka classroom duha ka grade level, and limited technology. Both countries therefore struggle with equity, where child's educational success is shaped not by capability but by socio-economic background and geographic location. In both Thailand and the Philippines, this lucky draw reality serves as a reminder that educational access does not always equal educational quality. Despite national efforts to improve schooling system, many learners continue to face barriers, making educational reform not just a policy issue, but a matter of fairness and social justice. As we conclude our presentation of the education systems of Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, one thing becomes clear. Each nation has its own strengths, challenges, and aspirations, but all share a common goal of providing learners with better opportunities for the future. Singapore shows what consistent innovation can achieve. Malaysia reflects a commitment to steady improvement, and Thailand highlights the importance of equity and inclusive reform. By learning from their experiences, we are reminded that education is not a competition but a shared journey. May we continue to draw insights from our ASEAN neighbors as we work together toward building more resilient, equitable, and high quality education systems for all. With that, I end my presentation. I am Jaren A. Jimenez, your presenter, and it has been a pleasure sharing with you the educational journeys of Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. May we continue learning from our ASEAN neighbors as we strive for a brighter future in education. Daghang salamat ug maayong buntag.